The forest was alive with danger, but also with promise. Towering trees stretched toward the sky, their thick canopies blocking out much of the sunlight, leaving only scattered golden rays dancing across the forest floor. The air was humid, heavy with the scent of earth, leaves, and ripened fruit. For early humans, this place was both a home and a battlefield, a place where every decision could mean survival or death. A small group moved cautiously through the undergrowth. Their bodies were lean, hardened by years of struggle. Their eyes were sharp, always scanning, always alert. Hunger had been their constant companion for days. The dry season had made food scarce, and the group was growing weaker with each passing hour. At the front was Karo, the strongest among them. He raised his hand, signaling the others to stop. His ears had caught something, no, not a sound, but a scent. Sweet, rich, inviting, food. The group froze, their noses lifting slightly, catching the same scent carried by the wind. Hunger surged through them like a sudden fire. Slowly, carefully, Karo moved forward, parting thick vines and stepping over fallen branches. The others followed, their steps quiet but eager. Soon, they found it. A tree unlike the others stood in a small clearing, its branches heavy with large, brightly colored fruits. The fruits glowed in shades of deep red and orange, their skins smooth and almost shining under the filtered sunlight. Some had already fallen to the ground, their scent even stronger, almost intoxicating. The group gathered around, eyes wide with excitement. Food had never looked so plentiful. One of the younger members, Tima, stepped forward quickly. Hunger had clouded her caution. She picked up one of the fallen fruits, turning it in her hands. It felt soft, ripe, perfect. Karo watched her, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Something felt wrong. The forest was rarely so generous without reason. But hunger spoke louder than instinct. Tima took a bite. At first, nothing happened. Her face lit up with relief. The fruit was sweet, juicy, filling her mouth with a taste unlike anything she had eaten before. She smiled, letting out a small sound of satisfaction. Encouraged, the others began grabbing the fruits. Soon, the group was eating, tearing into the soft flesh, devouring it with desperate hunger. But then, everything changed. Tima suddenly stopped. Her expression shifted from joy to confusion. She swayed slightly, her grip on the fruit loosening. A strange sound escaped her throat, half gasp, half groan. Karo stepped forward, alert now. Something was wrong. Tima collapsed. The group froze. Fear replaced hunger in an instant. Karo knelt beside her, turning her over. Her breathing was rapid, uneven. Her eyes darted wildly, unfocused. Her body trembled. Another member staggered back, dropping the fruit from his hand. He clutched his stomach, his face twisted in pain. Within moments, he too fell to the ground. Panic spread like fire. The fruits were not food. They were poison. Karo roared, a deep, urgent sound. He pushed the remaining fruits away, signaling the others to stop eating. Some obeyed immediately, fear snapping them back to awareness. Others hesitated, confusion and hunger battling in their minds. But the evidence was undeniable. One by one, those who had eaten began to show signs. Some grew dizzy, stumbling as if the ground itself had turned against them. Others cried out, clutching their bodies as waves of pain coursed through them. The forest, which moments ago had seemed like a place of abundance, now felt like a trap. Karo acted quickly. He grabbed Tima, lifting her partially off the ground, trying to keep her awake. He made sharp, urgent sounds, calling the others to help. Those still able to move gathered around, their fear now focused into action. They needed water. Karo remembered a stream not far from here. It was a risk. Moving the weak could slow them down, and predators could be nearby, but staying here meant certain death. With no time to waste, they began moving. The journey was chaotic. Some could barely walk, supported by others. A few had to be carried, their bodies limp and unresponsive. The group's usual silence was broken by groans, cries, and the frantic sounds of survival. The forest seemed darker now, more threatening. Every rustle in the leaves felt like danger. Every shadow could hide a predator drawn by the scent of weakness. Karo led them with determination. He ignored his own hunger, his own fear. His only focus was survival, of himself, and of his group. Finally, they heard it. Water. The faint sound of a stream reached their ears, a fragile hope cutting through the chaos. They pushed forward, driven by desperation. When they reached the stream, the group collapsed around it. Those who could still move began drinking, splashing water on their faces, trying to wash away the poison. Karo helped Tima to the edge. He cupped water in his hands, bringing it to her lips. At first, she didn't respond. Then, slowly, she swallowed. It was a small sign, but it was enough. Time passed slowly. The forest watched in silence as the group fought against the unseen enemy inside their bodies. Some lay still, their breathing shallow. Others trembled, caught between life and death. Karo stayed awake, watching over them. He listened to every breath, every movement. He refused to let sleep take him. Not now. Hours later, as the light began to fade, something changed. One of the fallen members stirred. He coughed, his body jerking as he rolled onto his side. His breathing steadied, though he still looked weak. Then another moved, and another. Not all survived. A few remained still, their bodies claimed by the poison. The group mourned in silence, their grief heavy but familiar. Death was a constant in their world. But many had lived. Tima opened her eyes weakly. She looked at Karo, her gaze filled with confusion, then recognition. She reached out slightly, and he took her hand. They had survived. As night fell, the group stayed close to the stream. No one spoke. No one moved far. The events of the day had changed them. They had learned something important. Not everything that looks like food is safe. The next morning, the forest seemed different. The same trees stood tall, the same sounds filled the air, but the group moved with greater caution. Their hunger remained, but it was now tempered with experience. Karo led them away from the deadly tree. He did not look back. The memory of the bright, beautiful fruit would stay with them forever, a reminder that survival was not just about strength or speed, but about knowledge. About learning from mistakes, even deadly ones. As they disappeared deeper into the forest, their steps were slower, more careful. They tested what they found. They watched each other more closely. They remembered, because in their world, survival was not given. It was earned, one lesson at a time. The morning after the deadly fruit felt heavier than any other. The forest had not changed, yet everything seemed different. The air still carried the same scent of damp earth and life, birds still called from the treetops, and insects buzzed in the shadows, but the group no longer moved with the same blind trust in what surrounded them. They had learned, and that lesson had come at a cost. Karo stood at the edge of the stream, watching the slow movement of water as it slipped over stones. His reflection wavered, broken by the current. Behind him, the group was waking. Those who had survived the poison were weak, their bodies drained, their movements slow and uncertain. Even those who had not eaten the fruit felt the weight of what had happened. Tima sat quietly, her back against a tree. Her eyes were open, but distant. She held a small stone in her hand, turning it over and over as if trying to understand something beyond its shape. When she noticed Karo looking at her, she gave a faint nod. She was alive, but not the same. No one was. Hunger returned quickly. Survival did not wait for grief. Karo knew they needed food again, but this time, things would be different. He crouched low and picked up a small plant growing near the stream. He did not eat it. Instead, he crushed a leaf between his fingers and smelled it. Then he touched it lightly to his tongue, just for a moment, before spitting it out. The others watched carefully. This was new. Before, hunger had driven them to eat first and think later. Now, caution had become their instinct. One by one, they began copying Karo. Small tastes, long waits, watching for any sign of danger. It was slow, but it was safer. As the sun climbed higher, they moved away from the stream and deeper into the forest. The ground here was uneven, scattered with roots and rocks. Thick vines hung low, forcing them to bend and weave as they walked. Every step was deliberate. Suddenly, Karo froze. A sound, not the rustle of leaves, not the call of birds. Something heavier. He raised his hand, signaling silence. The group stopped instantly, their bodies tensing. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then they saw it. A massive shape moved between the trees ahead. Dark fur, slow, powerful steps. It lowered its head, sniffing the ground, its long claws scraping softly against the earth. A giant prehistoric boar. It was larger than any animal they had hunted before, its body thick with muscle, its tusks curved and sharp. It was not prey. It was danger. Karo's mind raced. The group was still weak. They could not fight something like this, not now. Slowly, carefully, he gestured for them to move back. But the forest had other plans. A branch snapped beneath one of the group members. The sound echoed like thunder in the silence. The boar's head shot up. Its small, dark eyes locked onto them instantly. For a moment, everything froze, two worlds staring at each other. Then the boar charged. Karo roared, a warning that cut through the air. The group scattered, running in different directions to confuse the beast. The ground shook as the boar thundered forward, its speed terrifying despite its size. Tima stumbled, her weakened body unable to keep pace. She fell hard, the breath knocked from her chest. The boar saw her. It changed direction instantly. Karo didn't hesitate. He grabbed a thick branch from the ground and ran straight toward the charging beast. It was a dangerous move, almost certain death, but there was no time to think. As the boar lunged, Karo shouted and slammed the branch against a tree trunk with all his strength, creating a loud, sharp crack. The sound startled the animal. For just a second, its focus broke. That was enough. Tima scrambled to her feet, stumbling away as fast as she could. Karo moved quickly, dodging to the side as the boar charged past him, its momentum carrying it forward. The group regrouped behind thick trees and rocks, using the terrain to their advantage. They didn't try to fight. They ran, they hid, they survived. After a few tense moments, the boar slowed. It snorted, pawing at the ground, confused and frustrated. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it turned and disappeared back into the forest. Silence returned, but it was not the same silence as before. This one was filled with the sound of heavy breathing, of hearts pounding, of lives nearly lost. Karo leaned against a tree, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He looked around, counting. Everyone was alive. Again, Tima approached him slowly. Her legs were still unsteady, but there was something new in her eyes, something stronger than fear. Understanding. They could not rely on luck forever. As the day went on, the group changed the way they moved. They stayed closer together now, never straying too far from one another. They communicated more, through gestures, sounds, and shared awareness. When they found food, they tested it carefully. They watched each other for reactions. They learned which plants were safe, which insects could be eaten, which smells meant danger. By the time the sun began to set, they had gathered a small but safe supply of food. It was not much, but it was enough. They returned to the stream, their temporary refuge. The water shimmered under the fading light, a quiet reminder of survival. That night, they did something different. Instead of spreading out, they stayed close together, forming a tight circle. The memory of the boar, and the poison, was still fresh. The forest was not just a place of life. It was a place of constant testing. Karo sat at the edge of the group, watching the darkness beyond. His eyes were alert, his body still. He listened to every sound, the chirping insects, the distant calls, the movement of leaves. Beside him, Tima placed a small pile of stones. Karo looked at her, confused at first. Then he understood. She picked up 2 stones and struck them together. A sharp sound echoed into the night. She did it again, and again. The others watched. It wasn't fire. They didn't know fire yet. But it was something, a warning, a signal, a way to say, "We are here, and we are not helpless." One by one, the others began to copy her. Soon, the quiet night was filled with the rhythmic sound of stone against stone. It was not loud enough to attract distant predators, but it was enough to create a presence, a boundary. Something new was being born. Not just survival, strategy. As the stars filled the sky, the group settled into a restless sleep. They were still vulnerable, still learning, still far from safe, but they were changing. The deadly fruit had nearly destroyed them. The boar had tested their strength. The forest had shown them its many faces. And yet, they remained. Stronger, smarter, together. Somewhere in the darkness, unseen eyes watched them. The forest was always watching. And it would test them again. Because survival was not a single victory. It was a journey, one filled with danger, discovery, and the constant fight to live another day.